Welcome to my Cookalong series, which is going to come out as part of the podcast, but we're actually going to video me making the recipes too. And it's to celebrate the re-release of my garden cookbook, which is so exciting. I wrote it, I think, 20 years ago, and it still has recipes in it that I use every day here at Perch Hill. So I'm in my home kitchen here, and this is our family kitchen. And I'm going to show you the first recipe is something that I make several times a week at this time of year in August. So what I've got here is 500 grams of tomatoes, and I've got different varieties. So that is my absolute favourite, which is called Black Crim, and that has a different pigment or a different mix of pigments to the standard red tomato. So that, which is Gardener's Delight, has got lycopene, which is what makes it red. This has got lycopene and anthocyanin, which is the pigment, the antioxidant that makes blueberries so healthy and is so good for our brain health. And it's that black pigment that you get. So that is red lycopene, that is lycopene and anthocyanin. And then look at this one, that's one called Indigo Rose. So that end is lycopene, that end is anthocyanin, that end is lycopene. And then another pigment in here, which is the variety Sun Gold. And I'm picking up these ones. These are actually have slightly cracked on the vine, but it doesn't matter at all. As long as they're still fresh and they're not at all mouldy, you can still use them in the soup. But this is Sun Gold, and that has got carotene as well as lycopene in it. So you're getting this complete nutritional burst of all these antioxidants as well as all these delicious flavours. And I remember being taught by a Dutch chef once, if you're making any tomato dish, whether you're buying tomatoes or you're growing your own tomatoes, don't grow just one variety because they all have slightly different flavours. So like Sun Gold is really sweet. This one, Indigo Rose, is a little bit acid. You know, they're all different. And so by putting in lots of different varieties, you get your tomato dish having a greater depth of flavour, and that's so nice. So these all just go straight, 500 grams, just go straight into the food processor. And this, honestly, if I was making it without talking to all of you, this would take, a minute, maybe 2 minutes, and including the picking, perhaps 5 minutes. So it's a super, super quick thing. And by excluding the garlic or the onions, I can have this for breakfast, like a really healthy sort of smoothie, getting loads of all the 5 a day, but 15 or 20 a day, which is what we're all recommended to have now. And then I just top and tail my cucumber and this variety La Diva. Then I just chop that coarsely into the food processor. And it could not be more simple, this recipe, because then, so it's 500 grams to half a cucumber of tomatoes, then 2 tablespoons of a really good extra virgin olive oil. I love Greek, but particularly Cretan. And if it's harvested, the olives are harvested in the mountains, where they still use traditional techniques, they actually knock the olives down onto the olive nets below, and it bruises the fruit less, so you get a nicer flavour. So that's what I tend to use. And then here I've got an organic apple cider vinegar with the mother, and this is fantastically good for the immune system, also packed with minerals and micronutrients. But I remember when I was a doctor, I used to have this when I was in the hospital every morning as Hanukkah, and I used to get ill so much less than my other colleagues in the hospital because it's just so good for giving the immune system a really good boost. And then a nice good dollop of salt. You can use Himalayan salt. I'm actually using Malden. A little grind of black pepper, which I can add more into the soup in the end. So can you see how simple that is? Tomatoes, cucumber, cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar, olive oil, salt, pepper. 6 ingredients. And then so a quick blitz, couple of minutes max, but I want a little bit of texture left in the soup, and then I can either pour it straight in to individual bowls, or I can just pour it into a central bowl and people can help themselves from there. And then a nice swirl of olive oil in the top, like that. Another grinding of pepper, a little sprinkling of salt over the top again, and then serving it into the bowls. And I like getting the odd, as long as it's not too big, the odd lump of cucumber. That one might be a little bit too big. And I'll just ice cube into the middle of each bowl. You might not want to do this if it's not a hot day, but that's nice. And then just maybe a scattering of, that's called the Molly Raven Dahlia, which picks up nicely on the colour of the soup. And just again, a little swirl of olive oil into there. If you want to make it more substantial, then you can do hard-boiled egg and just literally just quarter it and just scatter that over the top. And you don't even need a whole egg per person, just little lumps of nice hard-boiled egg. And that just makes it even more of a meal.